If you're in your 20s and you feel like you have no idea what's going on, what you're supposed to be doing, but you just know that something is not right and that you have to change something, you are in the right place. Hey y'all, if you're new here, my name is BME Queen, and today I'm gonna be reviewing the book The Defining Decade by Meg J. I originally picked up this book because I was feeling the exact same way. I was 25, I'm now 27. I was in therapy and trying to figure out where to go and what direction to go in my life. This book really helped me, but I'm gonna break down why it was so helpful. In this video, I'm gonna give you my ease of read rating out of 5, my enjoyability rating. I'm gonna talk about some few key takeaways that are really important, and if you stick around to the end, you also get to see my overall rating for this book. The ease of read rating that I gave this book was a 4, and the reason why is because it's really simple to read it. However, it will hurt your feelings if you're not ready to take charge of your 20s. A lot of people will talk about how your 20s is a time for you to experiment and for you to figure out life and for you to have fun and live frivolously. But this book takes a totally different tone and instead talks about how you should be living intentionally and making very intentional decisions so that your 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on are much happier than the average person. It is a tough love book. I love tough love books. Like, I need someone to really just like read me to shreds and it's super helpful for me and I really get to soak it in. So if you do not like anything like that, this is not going to be for you. Now, in terms of enjoyability, like I said, it was really tough to kind of take a step back and have to reflect on my own actions and behaviors and thoughts and opinions. If you are not ready to do that self-reflection and to really take responsibility for how you've been living your life up until this point, you are not going to enjoy this. You're not going to like it at all. So as a person who is still in her 20s today, a lot of my early 20s I spent kind of blaming my parents for the things that either happened in my life or weren't happening in my life, or just different scenarios where I felt like I was a victim. I didn't have as many opportunities as other people, and because of that, it really affected how I am today or how I was living at that point. But this book makes you think about your life and the role that you play in it, and it puts the responsibility back onto you instead of you blaming other people to actually take control for what you want in your life. As far as the main takeaways goes, it is broken up into 3 major sections. So money, love, and the third section I would really refer to as miscellaneous, but it's really the brain and the body. What's really interesting about this book is that it's written by a therapist. She talks about how a lot of people in her 20s that come to see her in therapy just feel like they're so lost in life and have no idea where to go, and a lot of times it comes down to those 3 things. In terms of money slash career, she talks about how in our 20s we have typically gotten to a point where we realize that we do not like the career path that we have chosen for ourselves. This really hit me like a brick wall because at the time I was an engineering major in graduate school and I just really did not like what I was doing every day, and I didn't know what else to do with my life because I had spent my entire life studying to be an engineer. In the book she talks about how we are led by our parents or our family or any educators to do a job or a career path that is stable or reliable or whatever that may be. Even though we have followed all the things that everyone else has told us, it doesn't feel actually fulfilling, and we're kind of just living life in a way that isn't true to ourselves but also doesn't allow us to really feel fulfilled. People go through their entire education system without actually reflecting of, is this something that I like? Is it something that lead me to living a fulfilling life? Am I just following the direction of other people that are older than me that seem to know more about this topic than I do? It was at that point that I realized that, okay, I need to start doing things for myself that I really enjoy, and for me that was taking up new hobbies. My hobby then became my job, so I am a full-time content creator now, so I'm no longer an engineer. But it's really interesting how if you take time and dedicate time every day to yourself and reflecting on the decisions you have made up until now and how that's impacted your career, just your career, no other aspects of your life, but just your career, you can start to really understand whether or not you're living a life that you are excited about or are proud of, or just anything that isn't soul sucking but still allows you to do things that you want to do every single day. So for some people it doesn't mean necessarily quitting their job or changing their career path entirely to something else different. It may just mean adding in those hobbies or little side gigs or something that makes you excited to get up and work towards a goal in some way every single day. So as a therapist, she deals with a lot of the people that have made it to their their 30s and 40s and deeply regret the decisions that they have made in their careers, where they either stayed in a job or with a company way too long and didn't receive the recognition or the raises or any encouragement or leadership opportunities. He does give some advice on how you can start to be more intentional with your career, but that was the main takeaway that I got from that section of the book, is that ask yourself whether or not your career is something that truly aligns with you, and if not, start to take intentional action so that you are living a career life that is fulfilling to you. The second part of this book talks a lot about love and relationships. Even though I am not in a relationship, and I wasn't when I read the book, it still really made me think about relationships differently and how I date now. So in the book, she talks about the clients that she has that are in their 30s and 40s that are actually going through divorces. So these are either couples or newly divorced people that got married in their 20s. She asked them, how did they get to this point? Like, how did their relationship play out? What led them specifically to marriage? In a lot of the cases, someone may have been dating someone, you know, from college or from high school or whatever. The person was okay. There wasn't anything that was glaringly wrong or, you know, really bad. There weren't any huge red flags, but it also wasn't really exciting or really stabilizing. It didn't really contribute to their character or contribute to their life in a positive way. And these people, after dating for a long period of time, start to think, okay, well, you know, we've been dating for 2, 3, 4 years. We should move in together. Not really moving in for the purpose of they want to be together, but more so the purpose of it's cheaper for us to live together, or it kind of seems like it's time for us to do this. So kind of out of obligation, as opposed to like, I really want to live with this person. And then from there, after living together for, you know, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, you're like, well, you know, we've been living together, so it seems like the right thing to do would be to get married. In a lot of these cases that she talks about, there are people that kind of took the back seat in their own relationship and just let things happen, as opposed to being intentional about the partner that they were choosing to live with or cohabitate with or, you know, grow with. And in a lot of these scenarios, she points out that the partners that they chose were people that they weren't growing with. So their lives looked completely the same from their 20s and their 30s and then now into their 40s and so on and so forth. She really emphasizes to date intentionally so that you know what you're looking for and seek out people that have those qualities and those characteristics of that list of what you desire, so that you don't end up years down the line, you know, in a relationship that actually isn't fulfilling but also wasn't fulfilling from the beginning. I think that's a really interesting point that a lot of people just don't talk about in relationships, like just online in general, of dating intentionally, because it takes time to figure out what you actually like. But a lot of people will just stay by somebody just because they don't want to be lonely or they don't want to be by themselves or they're uncomfortable being single. Because of that, that then leads to relationships down the line where they're unhappy or they feel like their partner doesn't support them or they just haven't even grown in the relationship or on their own. If you are in a relationship, you ain't gonna like that one, because it's really gonna make you like think, okay, am I actively choosing this partner, or did we kind of just end up here? Did we just move in together because we wanted to save money? Were we married because we actually want to be married, or like did I just like not feel like being single at that time? That one was a really hard hitter. So if you just want to skip that section, you shouldn't. You definitely should not. Do not skip that section. You need to read that. The third section that she talks about, I refer to as miscellaneous, but she talks about as the brain and body. It pretty much discusses how you need to nourish yourself, so both your brain and your body, when you're in your 20s, to continue to have success and growth in your 30s, 40s, and so on. It talks about exercise. Like, a lot of people just stop exercising entirely after college. You're no longer walking to class, you're no longer taking any physical classes or anything, and a lot of people are not intentional about what they put into their bodies and how they exercise their bodies. You see, even today, like if you look at people that you went to high school with or that you went to college with, they have probably gained a lot of weight, because our normal 9-to-5 type of work life is very sedentary. So you have to go out of your way to get that exercise and to get your body moving. And so she talks about her older clients that are, you know, 30s, 40s, 50s are experiencing a lot of physical ailments or conditions that could have actually been prevented in their 20s because they just weren't working out. If you know anyone that has been through a really serious physical ailment or just a condition that has really hurt their body, body, it takes a toll on your mental health as well. And a lot of people then seek therapy because they're no longer able to do the things they used to do in, you know, their earlier years. Your physical health really plays a role in your mental health later on, and she really emphasizes that in this part of the book. She also talks about putting that same effort and energy into your brain, but also in terms of emotional wellness and maturity. It's also something that I have not read before in a self-help book, which I think is so interesting because our brain is still developing in our 20s. Even though we're, you know, technically adults, like you don't actually hit like full grown humanhood until your 30s. So there's still a lot of growth, development, and brain development that happens, kind of ends in your 20s. And she talks about how a lot of people in their 20s just don't know how to communicate effectively. They don't really have the language to express themselves and be able to communicate how they're feeling in that moment, or how to respond based on their feelings or not respond based on their feelings. A lot of people just don't read. They don't exercise their brain in addition to not exercising their body. When you go home after work, you know, you turn on the TV, and that's a very passive activity that doesn't require you to do a lot of brain work. People aren't really like reading the newspaper anymore. They aren't really reading books anymore. So she really encourages people to try to think of ways to exercise your brain and create a routine out of both exercising your brain and exercising your body, so that you have that routine when you get into your 30s and 40s and 50s. Overall, this book is really about living intentionally and taking a step back and asking yourself, is this something that I want to be doing with my career? Is this a person I really want to be dating in my love life? Is this someone that's going to help me grow and continue to grow throughout the rest of my years? Am I really putting time, effort, and energy into my body and into my mental wellness and stability and emotional wellness and stability? All too often there are full-grown people, like 40s, 50s, who do not have emotional maturity, who are kind of stuck in their teenage/early 20s mindset because they haven't taken the time to develop those skills and really reflect on themselves and how that has contributed to their lives and how they live every single day now. So thank you guys for sticking around to the end of this video. It is now time for the overall rating. So overall, I actually gave this book a 5. I never give books a 5, but this one was a goodie. It was so good. Like I said, it is really difficult to read if you are not willing to hear it, if you're not willing to do the work, if you're not willing to actually take that advice and start to apply it to your life. It's gonna sound like someone's nagging you, but if you are actually ready to make the changes and be active in your life, which will then contribute to you being successful in your 30s and 40s and 50s and just having a fruitful life in general, then this book is actually going to be really, really good for you. If you guys like this review, let me know by giving it a thumbs up so I can do some more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.